What's up, everyone? Renat here, and you're watching MMA Fight. Today, we're going to discuss a potential super fight in the UFC. We currently have two major UFC superstars who could face each other. Khamzat Chimaev, who absolutely dominated Duplessis, attacking people like a beast, breaking, choking, and finishing his opponents. And Alex Pereira, who weighs over 220 pounds, finishes fights with one punch, and recently reclaimed his championship belt. Khamzat has already congratulated Pereira on his victory and challenged him to a fight. However, Alex thanked him and stated he's interested in the heavyweight division. The question is, what if the UFC decides once again to make the biggest fight in the last 5 years, perhaps even at the White House? I think now is the perfect time to discuss whether Chimaev can break Pereira, or if the Unicum from Brazil, reminding us that he's also the best middleweight, will prevail. Hit that like button, guys. This is going to be very interesting, so let's get into it. Now let's add weight to the equation. On fight day, Alex steps on the scales at 234 pounds, and by the time of the fight, he's already 242 pounds or more. Imagine how much he rehydrates, recovers, and how powerful he is. Even against light heavyweight Ankalaev, he looked twice as big. He knocked out Prochaska twice, knocked out Adesanya, flattened Roundtree, Hill, and Ankalaev, who, by the way, can take a punch. Now imagine Khamzat, who isn't a giant himself, catching that hook that welterweight Gilbert Burns dropped him with. Imagine the chances of survival. In striking, Pereira's distance control is perfect, his timing is deadly, and his low kicks are like a lumberjack's. Khamzat might throw a couple of overhands, but if he stays in striking range for even 15 seconds, he'll simply get taken out. Now, let's move on to the most interesting part, grappling. This is where Khamzat can really impose his style. If he rushes in immediately like he did against Holland, trips a leg, takes him down, and presses him against the cage, it will be very difficult for Pereira. On the ground, Alex isn't a novice, but he's far from a wrestler of Khamzat's caliber. His base is striking. He's used to distance. When he's pressured, he survives due to his strength and his skill in the Thai clinch. Chimaev doesn't wrestle like Ankalaev. He's faster, more explosive, and attacks with relentless pressure. If he latches on and takes him down in the first 2 minutes, that's it. There will be brutal control, ground and pound, transitions to submissions, and Puatan might not even understand how he ended up on his back. However, here's the catch. Alex has already shown significant improvement in defending takedowns. In his first fight with Ankalaev, he perfectly used his knees, pushed off the cage, and never allowed himself to be taken down. He's no longer the guy you can just wrestle down and control. Plus, his physique is a nightmare for grapplers. Imagine Chimaev, weighing around 198 pounds for the fight, having to wrestle a guy who weighs 242 pounds, who also hits you, resists, and chops at your legs. For example, if Drukas was similar in size to you, an amateur striker and decent grappler, Pereira would be huge, good at takedown defense, but an exemplary striker, a double champion in glory who has already won a ton of UFC belts and defeated all the best strikers in the promotion within his weight class. So yes, grappling is Chimaev's only real chance, but that window of opportunity is at most the first round or the first couple of rounds, because after that, Khamzat will start to get tired. Chimaev almost always operates at maximum output, while Pereira, on the contrary, conserves energy, waits for you to tire out, and then starts to dismantle you piece by piece. This is where everything important lies, guys. The weight, the physique, the difference in build is just insane. Pereira in the light heavyweight division looks like a true heavyweight, just trimmed down to 205 pounds. A neck like a bowl, a back like a cabinet, legs like sharpened logs. He genuinely weighs 242 or even 246 pounds when he steps into the octagon, and yet he moves like a middleweight. And Chimaev is a guy who easily makes 198 pounds in 24 hours, and at most rehydrates to 198 pounds for the fight. That's his absolute maximum. So in the cage, there will be a minimum difference of 44 pounds between them. That's just insane. Now imagine Khamzat trying to take down such a monster. It's like trying to drop a refrigerator that's also kicking you. It's almost impossible to hold him down. He's too strong, too dense. You can grab his legs, you can drag him, but when a person has such powerful quads, he just stands up and you burn all your energy. Plus, Alex already has experience wrestling with Blachowicz and Ankalaev, and these aren't just names, these are genuinely the strongest grapplers in that division. And if they couldn't overwhelm him, it will be incredibly difficult for Chimaev, who is physically much smaller. Yes, Chimaev can shoot for a takedown. Yes, he can explode. But how many times can he do that? 1 takedown? Yes. 2? Possibly. But by the 3rd, his arms might be gassed and his breath gone, and that's when Pereira will start to unleash his magic. He'll simply stand up with you, re-establish distance, and from that moment on, the fight turns into a hunt, and the hunter becomes the hunted. Alright, now for our prediction. If the fight happens at light heavyweight, where Pereira doesn't cut weight, then Khamzat won't be able to win. Now, if Alex were to move down to Khamzat's former championship division, that's where everything changes dramatically and all the advantages would go to Khamzat. But Khamzat is talking specifically about moving up to light heavyweight for a new belt. So for the first 3 minutes, he might be dangerous, but after that, it's over. Powhatan will withstand the initial onslaught, chop his legs with low kicks, and then catch him coming in and turn out the lights. Therefore, my prediction is that at light heavyweight, Pereira will knock out Khamzat by the end of the fight. However, at middleweight, Khamzat could finish Pereira, who would be half dead after the weight cut. Something like that. Write your comments. Who are you rooting for? Who do you think will win, Pereira or Khamzat? And who do you think is the bigger superstar right now? Subscribe to the channel. See you soon, friends. Bye-bye.